This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. I just got a Tesla Powerwall. Well, more like I've got a Tesla Powerwall that's ready to be installed. It's laying on my garage floor. But with home batteries like this being so expensive, why would anyone want one? It goes beyond a simple return on investment discussion. In fact, there's some really interesting programs that are launching right now that could help drive adoption. So let's get into it. I'm Matt Ferrell. Welcome to Undecided. My Tesla Powerwall isn't doing much laying on my garage floor at the moment, but once it's installed, I'm planning on future videos to dive into my experiences with it and how it's integrated into my non-Tesla solar panel setup. So be sure to subscribe to not miss that. But given how expensive these battery systems can cost, I thought it was worth diving into why you'd want one, how they can make sense financially, and some of the intangibles that go beyond a return on investment. We're actually seeing more and more people jump into residential battery systems just like this. And it's not too surprising why, when you consider recent events like the California wildfires that knocked out power for millions of people, or Tropical Storm Isaias that left almost 3 million homes without power here in the northeast of the US. Traditionally, when there's a power outage, solar arrays have to be de-energized to protect utility workers that may be sent to fix something like a downed power line. You don't want your excess solar production keeping grid power lines electrified. When adding a battery to a home, it has the ability to island itself off from the grid so your home is consuming both stored and self-generated electricity. Basically, your solar panels stay on and are controlled by the battery control system. Here's a good example from a homeowner here in Massachusetts that has a Sonnen battery paired with solar. When Tropical Storm Isaias hit our area, it took out a tree, causing a 36-hour outage. The blue line is how much energy they were using. The yellow line is their solar production. The red line is when the battery was discharging power to the home, and the purple line shows the battery's state of charge. All the way at the top is 100% charged, and down at the bottom is 0%. You can see exactly when the battery kicked into gear and powered the home for the first 14 hours. Then during the next day, it recharged itself and powered the home from solar for the next 26 hours. An interesting note is the sawtooth pattern that you see in the purple line, as well as the solar power looking like it's being shut on and off. The battery control system automatically turns the solar panel system off when the battery is near full and there's too much power being generated for the house to use. The system alternated between powering from the battery and recharging from solar to manage that load. It's really pretty cool. Resiliency is a big perk of a home battery storage system like this. It may be a little tricky to calculate the return on investment this way, but keep in mind that this homeowner still had his lights on at night and didn't lose food from a refrigerator losing power during the height of the New England summer. It's also worth mentioning that many people install permanent gasoline or natural gas backup generators for situations just like this, and those can cost an average of $3,700 to install. But power during an outage is not the only reason that you want a battery system. If you have solar power installed in your home, you might benefit from having energy storage to capture your overproduction during the day for use at night. With or without solar, you can shift your grid energy use to avoid expensive time of use rates. Pay for grid energy when it's cheap and pull from the battery when it's expensive. And I'll get into more detail about this in a bit, but you might be able to make a little money directly from your utility by letting them use your battery as part of a larger virtual power plant system. And speaking of making money, if you're looking to build out your company website, online store, or portfolio, you should check out today's sponsor, Squarespace. This one is pretty personal to me because I've been using Squarespace for years, and I use it for the Undecided website. I've got over 25 years experience building out websites, so I know it's a full-time job to build and maintain a website. Squarespace takes care of all of it and lets you focus on the other work that matters for your business. I absolutely love the content management system for publishing my articles and videos. You can customize and fine-tune the look and feel to get something that fits your personality and your company's brand. And you don't have to worry about software updates, web servers, or anything like that. The all-in-one platform is my favorite part. If you want to build out a beautiful web presence without the hassle, head over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MattFerrell to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thanks to Squarespace and to all of you for supporting the channel. And when trying to choose a battery, it can be difficult to navigate all of the different battery types, brands, installation costs, and incentive programs. The most prominent option out there, and it's what I've got laying on my garage floor, is Tesla's Powerwall. It's an NMC battery pack, which means that it's using lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide chemistry. It tends to have a higher specific energy or energy density compared to other chemistries. so it can store more per kilogram. However, it has a slightly lower power rating than other chemistries, so there is a small trade-off. The Powerwall has a usable capacity of 13.5 kilowatt hours and a continuous power supply of 5 kilowatts, or up to 7 kilowatts peak. When you first turn on an electric device, there's sometimes a brief spike of a power draw, and that extra peak in the battery will cover that. You can think of power supply of a battery like water flowing through a hose. The diameter of the hose limits how much water can come out at once. The power supply has the same kind of limiting effect. So in my setup with one Powerwall, my backup is able to handle about 5 kilowatts or 5,000 watts of power draw at once. That means I wouldn't be able to run an electric stove and AC at the same time, considering they use way more than 5,000 watts. My hose just isn't wide enough. I need to add a second Powerwall to make sure I could cover that situation. Now, kilowatt hours are how many watts you're using over time. If I ran a 1,000-watt oven from my Powerwall, I'd be able to run it for about 13.5 hours because the battery pack is rated for 13.5 kilowatt hours. The other important thing to consider when choosing a battery are the depth of discharge, round-trip efficiency, and what the warranty it comes with. The depth of discharge is how much you can drain the battery before the manufacturer recommends recharging. In the case of the Powerwall, it has a 100% depth of discharge, meaning that you could theoretically drain it completely, but that's generally not a good idea for the long-term battery health. The round-trip efficiency is the amount of energy that can be used as a percentage of the amount of energy it took to store it. This comes in at 90% efficiency, which is excellent. And for a warranty, Tesla provides a 10-year or 70% of original capacity warranty. An alternate to the NMC battery chemistry is LFP, or lithium iron phosphate, and examples of that format are the Sonnen Eco and Enphase Encharge. LFP batteries have a slightly lower specific energy, but higher power output. The Sonnen Eco comes in configurations that range from 5 to 20 kilowatt hour capacities, and between 3 and 8 kilowatts of continuous power output. It has a 100% depth of discharge rating and an 86% round-trip efficiency. And as for the warranty, the Sonnen has a 10-year, 10,000 cycle or 70% capacity warranty. There are even more batteries like the Generac Power Cell, the LG Cam Rescue, the Panasonic Evervolt, and the electric Power Pod. I'll provide a link in the description to my website that has more details on different batteries and their stats. It's not a comprehensive list, but it covers some of the bigger options that are out there. But there's still a big looming question, which is cost. No matter what route you go, all of these options are expensive right now. The Powerwall costs between $9,600 and $15,000 to purchase and install. And Sonnen starts around $10,000 and can be expanded by 2.5 kilowatt hour increments, which would increase the price accordingly. Now, like I said, it's expensive. But remember, a backup generator can cost you thousands of dollars and is only used during a blackout, where home batteries can provide value 24/7. And this is also where incentive programs can really come into play to make not only the economics make sense, but to also help the broader community. In California, there's the Self-Generation Incentive Program, or SGIP, which has a budget of $1 billion to fund the program through 2024. Single-family homes are eligible for $850 per kilowatt hour as a rebate. Now, this should cover about 85% of the cost of the average energy storage system. And if you live in a multifamily home or qualify for additional help, the program will cover $1,000 per kilowatt hour, or about 100% of the cost. Now in Massachusetts, where I live, there's a Solar Massachusetts Renewable Target Program, or SMART, which pays participants based on the amount of energy that they produce. The program has a battery storage adder, which depends on the size of the solar panel system and the battery that it's paired with, but it can add between 2 cents and 7 cents back per kilowatt hour of electricity. And while there's not a rebate payout like California, there's a Mass Save Heat Loan program that you can use to pay for the battery system, which will get you a 7-year loan up to $25,000 at 0% interest. And the utilities in the New England area, which are Eversource and National Grid, have created their own incentive program called Connected Solutions. This is a really cool program that's creating a virtual power plant by using thousands of home battery installations as one massive battery to handle peak loads on the grid. I've applied to get my Powerwall included in the system, which will pay $225 per kilowatt of your battery's average contribution during summer events and $50 per kilowatt during winter events. Tesla does take a 20% cut for managing and dispatching of the Powerwall, but Sonnen manages their service free of charge for their customers. Utilities limit the number of events to 60 in the summer and 5 in the winter, and each event is about 2 or 3 hours long. For a typical battery that's capable of 5 kilowatts continuous contribution, that could earn you about $1,375 per year while enrolled in the program. For a single Powerwall, That would almost cover the cost of the Powerwall itself over 5 years. And going back to that Massachusetts homeowner with that Sonnen battery, he's enrolled in this system. And on this chart, you can see what it looks like when the system taps into the battery. The utility made sure his battery was fully charged and then started to drain it at the beginning of the peak event, which was 4 p.m. This tapped the battery out by the end of the event, which was around 7 p.m. And then the grid filled the battery up to about 20% charge until the next day, when his solar panel system filled it up the rest of the way. The most interesting part of this program is that it was created by the utilities in an effort to save themselves money. And the payouts are coming from the benefits that the program provides. Pilot programs like this have shown a lot of promise. Green Mountain Power launched a similar program in Vermont that paid back in a big way. In 2018, the network of batteries reduced consumption during New England peak hour and saved about $600,000 in capacity fees. In 2019, after adding more batteries to the system for about 10 megawatts of capacity, it saved about $900,000 from a single hour of operation in late July peak. So you can start to see why utilities are willing and able to pay customers to contribute to systems like this. In fact, National Grid in Rhode Island offers $400 per kilowatt during summer events in Connected Solutions program. Maybe I should move to Rhode Island. Well, building onto that basic concept is a broader standard called Clean Peak that's starting to get rolled out in some governments. Massachusetts is the first state in the United States to enact the Clean Peak standard, and it looks like Arizona might be next. In a nutshell, it's a mandate that requires a certain percentage of a state's energy to come from renewable sources during peak demand. The nuance there is peak of Clean Peak. Just adding solar panels won't cut it because they won't provide direct power during peak events, which usually occur in the early evening when people start turning on lights and cooking dinner. In order to hit those mandates, states will need methods to store that renewable energy to use during peak, which is where the battery storage comes into the picture. Programs like Connected Solutions are laying the groundwork for utilities to start building up those energy stores as part of the mix. One study has shown that after the initial setup costs of Clean Peak, that Massachusetts looks to save over $400 million this coming decade for ratepayers, not to mention the massive savings in CO2 emissions. In Germany, there's a solar storage incentive for systems below 30 kilowatts that can cover 30% of the battery system's cost. And in the UK, you'll find the Smart Export Guarantee, which will earn you money for exporting stored electricity back to the grid. How much you'll get, and if you can get it, depends on the supplier, but you might see somewhere between 4 and 6p per kilowatt hour. Two factors are going to play a big role in battery adoption in the home: continuing to drive down battery prices and smart utility and government policies and programs. As more pilot programs like Connected Solutions start to show the value that home energy storage can bring to the community, we'll start to see greater adoption. It's going to be interesting to see how this evolves over the next few years. So what's your take? Jump into the comments and let me know what you think about home batteries like this. And if you're interested in seeing a follow-up video about my Tesla Powerwall, be sure to hit the like button. And I'd like to give a big thank you to Matthew Tuttleman, who helped me with the research and scripting of the video. He's an expert in energy storage systems and has a lot of professional experience with virtual power plants, so his insights were incredibly helpful. And as always, a special thank you to all of my patrons. All of your support is really helping to make these possible. If you like this video, be sure to check out one of the ones I have linked to right here, and be sure to subscribe if you think I've earned it. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.